Jim Acosta tweeted, I walked out at the end of that briefing because I'm totally saddened by what just happened. Sarah Sanders was repeatedly given a chance to say the press is not the enemy, and she wouldn't do it. Shameful. It is not just shameful, dangerous. I mean, are we pretending that journalists have not already been shot and killed? I'm sure to some degree because of the rhetoric of this president constantly. The press is the enemy of the people. We watched that ugly scene with Jim Acosta. This is yesterday.
I think it would be a good thing if you were to say right here at this briefing that the press, the people who are gathered in this room right now, doing their jobs every day, asking questions of officials like the ones you brought forward earlier, are not the enemy of the people. I think we deserve that.
I think the president has made his position known. I also think it's ironic.
I'm
trying to answer your question. Okay, I politely waited, and I even called on you despite the fact that you interrupted me while calling on your colleague.
Okay, and then she did her whiny little snowflake, whiny little bitch fest, right, about you. And remember the comedian? Remember when you... The comedian?
Oh, it's here.
It's ironic, Jim, that not only you and the media attack the president for his rhetoric.
She's going to read this.
When they frequently lower the level of conversation in this country. Repeatedly, the media resorts to personal attacks without any content other than to incite anger. The media has attacked me personally on a number of occasions, including your own network, said I should be harassed as a life sentence, that I should be choked. ICE officials are not welcomed in their place of worship, and personal information is shared on the internet. When I was hosted by the Correspondents Association, of which almost all of you are members of, you brought a comedian up to attack my appearance and call me a traitor to my own gender. In fact, as I know, as far as I know, I'm the first press secretary in the history of the United States that's required Secret Service protection. The media continues to ratchet up the verbal assault against the president and everyone in this administration, and certainly we have a role to play, but the media has a role to play for the discourse in this country as well.
And I swear there are no American tanks in this city. There is nothing behind me. Those are Iraqi tanks.
I am Baghdad Barb.
Good God.
They're such victims, right? I mean, he engages in the most mean, hateful rhetoric we have ever seen in a president, and they're just, I couldn't get farm to table produce.
That, first off, a litany of phenomenal lies. And
yes.
I don't know if you guys touched upon it a couple of weeks ago when ex-CIA guy Michael Scheuer was making death threats on his Twitter feed. And that article where they pulled his entire WordPress site.
Yeah.
It was, let's mass murder everyone who hates Trump and let's encourage Trump to mass murder citizens. The first thing he wrote, though, was that this week there were 300 attacks on Trump people by liberals. And her little litany there sounded exactly like his. Of course, the next thing he said was, let's have civil war, let's mass murder anyone who is anti-Trump. This is dangerous talk. And I'm sorry, I'm speaking as a professional now. We have a phrase for this. It's called eliminationist rhetoric.
Yeah.
All right? And it means you are now characterizing your opponents in such a way is that you're calling for their deaths.
Yeah.
All right? And this is what I'm trying to warn everybody about.
Right.
We have got to restore the guardrails of the American experiment, American democracy, and we can't let this down. No one has put out the information that came out on ICE agents was put out by WikiLeaks people from overseas, not Americans. The things that were said about Sarah Huckabee Sanders weren't said by people in the media. It was said by people on the street who saw her ugliness. Right. I'm sorry, the First Amendment has limits in both directions.
Right, and these false equivalencies, Maxine Waters did in not any way call for violence. And now, she needs protection and has to cancel things because of death threats. I mean, it's, and you got to lay this at his feet. I mean, this started from his campaign rallies, this hatefulness and calls to violence. And
go ahead, go and hit him. I'll pay your legal fees.
Yep.
I'll pay the hospital fees. This is ridiculous, and it's dangerous, and it's very un-American.
Dwight in Houston, you're on with Malcolm Nance.
Yeah.
Hello, Dwight.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking my call. I have a question for Malcolm.
Yes.
If Mueller has hard, indictable evidence against Trump, such as tax fraud or money laundering, then is the only reason to interview Trump is for a perjury indictment? Thank you.
Well, it's a good question. He said, for those of you who couldn't hear,
I couldn't hear.
I had to put my NSA ears on,
Yes.
and I'm really good.
Oh,
at
like you
doing
and Rudy Giuliani. You know how to listen to those tapes.
Yeah. Oh, I can listen to those tapes. I can transcribe those tapes. But his question was, do you think that there's hard indictable evidence, or is it going to be something related to finances or perjury? And again, this scenario actually happened. Mueller hired the top 16 financial crimes prosecutors in America.
Yeah.
That is what his emphasis is on. It is not on just the Russian thing. The FBI counterintelligence division can handle that. This thing is going to be an enormous, massive RICO operation. I think I said that
You've
in
been saying
January
that.
2017.
Yeah.
That this is RICO. This is racketeering and corrupt influence organizations. And they are going to dismantle all of that money leading back to whatever the first loan he got.
Yeah.
All of the business dealings. He was the washing machine for Russian money coming into the United States. And it was no one cared or noticed it because he was a private citizen back then. But now he's president of the United States, and those people, they're like the bears in the movie Sing, right?
Right.
They get their paws onto you. You owe them.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of disinformation, what was the thing, all the lies she told? First of all, why does no one stop her when she says this investigation began on the discredited dossier? First of all, ask her what thing has been discredited in the dossier, and B, that is completely untrue. It started because of Papadopoulos.
I have learned this, what's going on, because I'm in the media now, and again, I just came from this conference of 5,000 black journalists in Detroit.
Right.
Journalism has limitations that can be exploited. And what they're doing is they're exploiting the fact that each individual in that room has a constituency and an editor that they have to fulfill missions for. And they are not a club.
Right.
They are a group of individuals. And so if you use that to where you can repeat a lie in front of them and make it a platform in the United States, no journalist who has a question that he needs to have filled is going to respond to that.
Yeah.
They will not act in solidarity.
You know about this, obviously. What was the other lie she told is, she accused journalists of leaking classified information. She said that's why bin Laden stopped using his satellite
Wrong.
phone.
That came from a Republican. Good God, man. There's whole books have been written about this. That was leaked by a Republican congressman who leaked out NSA information that bin Laden was using a certain satellite phone on a certain channel, and that was pre-9/11. I want to say that happened in 1998, just after our Zawar Keely cruise missile attack on this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And you were talking
Lie.
about security concerns a long time ago with Trump being president and having these properties all over the world. And they keep repeating, you were saying someone again this morning just said Malcolm Nance called for Trump buildings to be
and we found
bombed
out
by
that
ISIS. And
we
you're
found out that it's a bot
Right.
that put this out
Right.
this morning. And it turns out one of the first followers that retweeted it, showed another tweet from another bot with the exact same words. And this is where Russia facilitates and helps the alt-right and the anti-democracy movement is what I'm going to start calling them, the anti-American movement, to putting out propaganda. Whatever she says, it's going to be retweeted 1 million times.
Right.
She's putting out
And
a virus.
Your concerns, by the way, were valid. Am I hearing stuff about that Erdogan might seize Trump towers and, retaliation for something, tariffs or whatever? This is what you were trying to say. This is a national security concern that there are Trump properties all over the world.
And that was a year ago, and it led to 50 death threats against my family.
Yeah.
And if you recall, I was on the Bill Maher show where the editor-in-chief, Andrew Marlowe, the editor-in-chief of Breitbart, just happened to be across from me, and it popped into my head, oh my God, I've got the guy who's responsible for all these death threats sitting right here.
Yeah.
You know what he said? If it's true, then we'll print a retraction. I said, so the only option is I'm a member of ISIS? I had a pretty hard time in the green room not knocking him on his butt because these were serious threats. They went to my mother's house in South Carolina and photographed it. Right? And to say, here's where you are, we should shoot it up.
Jim Acosta, one more, responding to her Aunt Lydia's little whiny list.
You did not say in the course of those remarks that you just made that the press is not the enemy of the people. Are we to take it from what you just said? We all get put through the ringer. We all get put in the meat grinder in this town, and you're no exception. And I'm sorry that that happened to you. I wish that had not happened. But for the sake of this room, the people who are in this room, this democracy, this country, all the people around the world are watching what you're saying, Sarah. And the White House for the United States of America, the President of the United States should not refer to us as the enemy of the people. His own daughter acknowledges that. And all I'm asking you to do, Sarah, is to acknowledge that right now and right here.
Yeah, and then she wouldn't, right? What did she just said? I appreciate your passion. Or
I appreciate your passion. I share it. I've
Sure you do.
addressed this question. I've addressed my personal feelings. I'm here to speak on behalf of the president. He's made his comments clear.
U.S. officials.
Is that what she said? Because I
Yeah.
could have swore when I was listening to that yesterday, I heard, "If thy eye offendeth thee, pluck it out." So, I'm sorry. Was that Sarah Sanders or Aunt Lydia? I can't.
Anita
That's our,
in
new
San
favorite, that's our new favorite game. Sarah Sanders or Aunt Lydia.
You should make that game up.
Anita in San Antonio, you're on with Malcolm.
My head is exploding. I can't stand listening to her. When she started whining about people unleashing personal attacks against her,
Yeah.
she just would not acknowledge that the media was not the enemy of the state. Donald Trump goes up there and calls them horrible, disgusting people and liars, and she's up there whining about personal attacks from the media. I don't understand how they're not embarrassed by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think they're incapable of embarrassment, obviously.
This is straight from the Putin playbook. When Putin was humiliated after the submarine Kursk blew up, and people started thinking about Putin and the so-called Russian free press, allowed them to criticize Putin, he, within a year, bought all of Russian media and put it out.
Yeah.
There is no free press in Russia. What Trump is doing here is he's doing the same thing. Look, L.A. Weekly went out of business, right? Was suddenly bought up. The
Yeah.
New York Post.
Yes, right after they wait a
right
minute.
after they did an
right
article
after they
on you.
did Voice of the Resistance. Wait a minute.
Yeah, but the same thing with is it the Post, where they've gutted half the staff.
Yeah.
These are people who are attempting to silence free speech, who are attempting to dismantle the First Amendment of the United States, which, according to them, only applies to them, but not to the rest of us, the
Yep.
70% of us who exist out here. And it must be resisted. I mean, you
Yep.
know, as a patriot, everyone has a duty to speak their voice.
Yep.
And if you need some inspiration, go take a look at the Norman Rockwell painting.
Yeah.
When I was called before Congress to testify about waterboarding, I got a lot of flack. A lot of flack. People who I knew in the military were coming back to me and saying, "You're a traitor, you're this and you're that." And you know what I took inspiration from? The Norman Rockwell painting of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Where the guy is standing up in the middle of an audience and speaking his mind. You must do that. And, you know, I'm sorry if Sarah Sanders doesn't want to go out, you know, she wants to go to Chipotle or some other place and, you know, eat her food. Well, go to a Trump country club if you want to not hear the opinions of the American public.
Yeah, exactly.
But it comes in all flavors.
Yep.